Welcome into the Baselines to Sidelines podcast. My name is Nick. I am the host. Starting off today, we're going to be talking about the most recent Rockies signings. I mean, the Rockies have finally done something. It's been a little bit of a crazy off season, but for one of the things is the Rockies have just been quiet. But they have signed one person and also traded for another, something Paul DePodesta had talked about. And we're going to dive into not only the signing and the trade, but we're also going to dive into what this means for the Rockies and moving forward, what this organization is going to look like. But this is our second episode. We're going to be kind of more Rockies, definitely more Rockies focused today than we were last week or last episode. Last episode we were much more focused on the Rockies or how the trade deadline could play out towards this offseason because of the 2027 CBA, the CBA, and what we're going to be looking at going forward with a possible strike. But today, like I said, we're going to be more focusing on Rockies, what the Rockies have done, and what they're going to be doing moving forward. So let's dive right in and let's have some fun. So starting off, let's talk about, we all know the Rockies, Paul DePodesta, and all of the crew that he has brought in, with Burns taking the interim general manager tag off of Warren Schaefer, making him the full-time manager. Then you also have, you have Alon Leishman, and you also have quite a few others, and plus, some people will argue with me on this, but Walker Monfort appears to have taken a back seat. Or Dick Monfort, his son, I apologize, that's my mistake. Dick Monfort, the father, appears to have taken a back seat, and his son, Walker Monfort, appears to be more of the driving force when it comes to not only the baseball decisions, but some of the decisions going on within the organization business-wise. So I'm really excited to see that. I think that's something that Rockies fans can look forward to. I know, Rockies fans will forever call for Dick Monfort to sell the team, and that's just not going to happen. That we can hope for it, but as Rockies fans, it's just not going to happen. But Walker Monfort appears to be completely different. He appears to be on the path of new, innovative ideas, bringing in outside voices, something the Rockies really have not done for definitely over a decade. You could almost argue a decade and a half at this point. So the Rockies doing all of these moves is really exciting. Now, do I think this is going to change as far as like what the 2026 is going to look like? No, I don't, unfortunately, because the product on the field is still the same. And I kind of expected that. Now, let's dive in. Let's dive in a little bit into who the Rockies have signed and traded for. And this is where we can get into the product on the field. Not just this year, but moving forward. That's what I'm most looking forward to. So you have You have Michael Lorenzen, who they traded for, or not traded for, they signed for. McCarthy was the one they traded for. My apologies. You have Michael Lorenzen, who they signed. He is going to be about a fourth or fifth starter. I don't expect him to be he's definitely not going to be the top guy. That's still Kyle Freeland's position. Second, I'm kind of looking at that to be more of the Tanner Gordon role. Tanner Gordon's going to fit somewhere between the second, third rank, in my opinion. And then I don't exactly off the top of my head, you have McCade Brown, who could be that third starter. And then fourth would more than likely be Lorenzen. Fifth, I expect to be Chase Dollander. Now, Chase, I'm hoping he can move up in the ranks, become that second, third starter. However, looking at that right now, he is definitely the fifth starter. He has a lot to prove. He's young. So what Lorenzen brings is not only veteran leadership, but he also brings in a proven record. Is it the greatest record? No. And you're not going to get the greatest record when it comes to the Rockies organization, because nobody wants to pitch at Coors Field. Pitching at Coors Field can be a bit of a nightmare because of the altitude, because of the dry air. You're just not going to get the curveball, other pitches to spin quite like they would down in Florida, down in Arizona, California. I can go on and on. This pitcher, however, signifies to me that that the Rockies aren't afraid to sign a pitcher. They haven't signed a pitcher like this for this much money in, I want to say, since 2015, 2016. That would have been the last time that they signed pitcher anywhere close to this. Now, I still expect the Rockies to take a draft and develop approach, especially with the payroll that they're dealing with. So you're not going to the Rockies aren't just going to overnight change into the Dodgers, change into the Yankees, where they more focus on signing people than they do draft and development. Now, granted, the Dodgers organization has one of the best farm systems, but you also got to look at that payroll. Who do they have? They have a lot of good players down in that farm system. But I digress on that one. Getting back to the original topic, I like this signing with Lorenzen because it also shows that the Rockies want to do something different, and Lorenzen is kind of an experiment to me. He comes in with such veteran leadership and experience that he can even help the new pitching staff, which I'm excited for this pitching staff. I'm excited for Alan Leishman, Gibbous. I forget the bullpen coach they just signed. They signed in this offseason. I'm excited for this pitching staff because this pitching staff comes in extremely highly regarded, and they come in fresh, new ideas. No offense to Daryl Scott. I was a Daryl Scott guy. But at some point, you can only I think this is a phrase that Rockies fans hear all the time. You can only shuffle the deck chairs on the Titanic so much until it's time to get a new boat, you know? And so this is where I'm excited because Lorenzen can come in and show how to develop. He can help almost with the development of these newer, younger pitchers. He can come in with as deep of an arsenal as he has. I mean, he has a nice changeup. He has a nice curveball. His splitter is really nice. He has a very, very good arsenal for where the Rockies picked him up at, where the Rockies signed him at. He's not a world beater, but he has that talent. He has, I mean, let's look at his stats right here. You have him in 2025. He had a he he had a 4.64 ERA. He has a career of a 4.08 ERA. He had 26 starts in 2025. 141 innings pitched, 127 strikeouts. His whip is 1.3. I mean, that's not awful. That's actually really solid. That's for a middle of the road pitcher, you can't complain with that. Now, there's going to be some pitcher person out there who knows a little bit more on pitching than I do, and I'll admit that I'm not the most pitcher knowledge person out there. However, you can't argue that for what he has brought to the table, his walk, he only had 39 walks on the season. That's huge. That is huge when it comes to as a Rockies player. Think about all the time, all the walks that the Rockies pitchers gave up. There are some Rockies pitchers that they brought up that, I mean, within 2 games, or not 2 games, I apologize, within 10 games, they had almost 30 walks. So I look at this signing as a very solid signing. And I realize I'm kind of going in a circle right now. I'm just trying to drive home the fact that you can look at this and be like, yeah, I like this. I like that the Rockies are actually taking a risk that's not a high risk, not a Chris Bryant deal. Because we all know I will put this out there. If Chris Bryant plays baseball again, I don't even know what I would do. Like that, I would be utterly shocked if Chris Bryant ever plays a game of Major League Baseball ever again. The injury that he has, the disease he is dealing with, it's just not, he's not going to play. The Rockies just need to do the right thing, release him, take a page out of the Denver Broncos book, and be willing to eat the dead cap, because it's just not going to get better. It's just not. And I hope this new regime can see that. Because the Rockies are not, and so back to Lorenzen, the Rockies are just not in a position to sign any big, meaty contracts. Those several like $24 million a year contracts, or I mean, throw a high-end contract out there. Alex Bregman just signed a pretty fat contract. Actually, let me look up Alex Bregman's contract that he just signed for. Yeah, he just got a 5-year, $175 million contract. The Rockies aren't signing that. If they're signing at highest, I would expect 3-year deal. It's going to be 3 years for 30 million, 40 million at best. It's not going to be, you're not going to see those $175 million contracts. You're not going to see that because they already took that swing with Chris Bryant. And that was a swing and a miss. So coming back to Lorenzen again, this is the contract that the Rockies should do, and they did, and I hope they do more contracts like this until 2027, 2028, and after this, whatever the CBA is gonna turn out to be. That, and hopefully at that point the Rockies are looking more competitive and more in a we are ready to start competing. That's when you can do these contracts. That's when you can do the contracts. That's when you can do the more competitive, like, we're here to take a swing at this person. Now, let's talk about people who along with Paul DePodesta's philosophy, he talked about trades. Now, granted, in a couple of interviews, he talked more about trading for starting pitchers, which I do think he'll eventually do. Whether it's this offseason or it's going to be at the trade deadline, that's going to be more of the curious part. But the Rockies did do a trade. They did Jake McCarthy. They traded Jake McCarthy for Jake McCarthy, and they shipped out, I know his last name, I can't remember his first name, but Gross was his last name, who they got as a pitching prospect in the Ryan McMahon trade. So they used a prospect that they had gotten in the Ryan McMahon trade that wasn't even really their prospect, and they sent him to the D-backs for a decent quality outfielder. Here's the interesting part. The Rockies already had a very deep outfield. That outfield is going to get crowded now with Jake McCarthy, Brenton Doyle, Freeman, Moniak, Zach Veen. I'm missing a handful of people off the top of my head. Granted, I have not had the most caffeine currently at the moment. I mean, Yankiel Fernandez, Mickey Moniak, Sterling Thompson, Jordan Beck. This is a crowded outfield room. Who is Jake McCarthy taking his position? Well, if you've been listening to some of the other, or reading some of the other articles out there, Brenton Doyle's name has been thrown around a lot. I don't know if the Rockies are actually going to trade for him. I know the Rockies, in my opinion, from a couple of people I have talked to who are close to the Rockies organization, they it's going to have to be a nice deal. They're not going to get, obviously, a world-beating deal for Brenton Doyle. But if that nice deal comes, I would not be surprised. And I'm a Brenton Doyle fan. I'm a huge Brenton Doyle fan. But I would not be surprised if Doyle gets traded. And that's where Jake McCarthy takes his place. Right now, I see Jake McCarthy as a backup outfielder, a pretty solid backup outfielder at that. I was watching some Jake McCarthy highlights, and actually a few highlights came against the Rockies. He had a really unbelievable home run, and then he robbed, I want to say it was Ezekiel Tovar. He robbed Ezekiel Tovar of a pretty nice hit, of at least a single. So the Rockies he has good speed, and he can have good speed on the base paths. In 2025, he had 206 at-bats, 42 hits, 4 home runs. His batting average was .204, so not the most stellar batting average. Now, in 2024, he had a much, much better year. He had 495 plate appearances in 2024, 442 at-bats, 66 runs, 26 hits. He had 8 home runs, 56 RBIs. He can get walks. He had 31 walks. 78 strikeouts. I mean, that's not the worst. So he has the potential to have some really, really good stats. And I think Coors Field is only gonna increase that. So I'm hoping and am really excited if he takes a step forward. Now back to the whole kind of what we're talking about, the Paul DePodesta, is Paul DePodesta and the Rockies organization are trying to show that they have a completely different mindset, that they're coming in with the mindset of we're going to make guys earn this. So also Zach Veen, think about this. Zach Veen, I don't think was quite ready last season, and I'm a Zach Veen fan. Right behind me, actually that card right there, is his Tops Now card. I think I even said that in the last video or show. I'm a Zach Veen fan. But this is bringing in an outfielder. Zach Veen's going to have to prove it. All of these young guys are going to have to prove it. They're not just going to get called up for a call-up. I even expect them, well, I'll get to that later. The Rockies are showing that they are not afraid to force guys they're not afraid to force guys to earn their spot when they haven't earned it. Zach Veen came up. Everybody was stellar excited. He did not have a good showing at all. He came in with a lot of hype and not a lot of show, especially his strikeouts. I mean, there was to a point where you could almost watch curveball down low, and then they were going to do a fastball high inside. And he bit on the fastball high inside every single time. Now, I'm not saying it's not effective, but Zach Veen is going to have to learn how to correct that. Because in the minor leagues, it's more about developing, so some pitchers just aren't going to go to that time and time again, in the big leagues, they're going to look at you and say, oh, if you bite if you don't bite on a low curveball or changeup down low, but next pitch, you will bite fastball high inside, they're going to come at you. They're going to punish you. So Zach Veen's going to have to learn. It's going to be a put up or shut up. Zach Veen's going to have to learn how to correct that. Same with Jordan Beck's going to have to learn how to earn a couple of. I think he has already earned his spot, but I could also be wrong. I know Yanquiel Fernandez, he has not quite earned that spot. He's going to have to prove himself. He's going to have to prove why he deserves to be up in the show. I think Jake McCarthy, this really does signify what Paul DePodesta was talking about, what Walker Montford has talked about, where they're going to make guys earn this. They're not just going to bring up guys to bring up guys. You could even look at the first base position. The Rockies have no answer at first base right now. They need to figure something out at first base. And I'll dive into that more in another show. But right now, Blaine Crim is the only answer. He's the only one that has the answer of what are the Rockies going to do at first base. And I don't think Blaine Crim is definitely not a permanent answer, and he's not the now answer. And so I know a couple of Rockies fans I've talked to, they're calling for Charlie Condon to come up. Charlie Condon's still a year out, I would say. He is not ready, and he's going to have to earn it. Yeah, he has shown a lot down in the minor leagues. I have watched quite a bit of Hartford Yard Goats games. I've watched quite a bit of his games. And yeah, he's had some good stuff. I like his swing a lot. But he's going to have to earn it. So he's going to be sitting there just having to grind through it. And I like that. Because, quite frankly, as a longtime Rockies fan, I'm sick of hearing about all these prospects coming up through the ranks, and they get to the big leagues, and what is there to show for it? There is nothing to show for it. Little to nothing. I mean, yeah, there has been some pretty good players, but then there's also been a lot of misses. And I'm sick of hearing those misses. I know other Rockies fans are sick of hearing and seeing those misses. So kind of tying it all back in, because I know we're kind of coming up on time, is the Rockies have a lot, they have showed a lot just in these two moves, in the signing of Michael Lorenzen and in the trade of Jake McCarthy. They showed that they're not afraid to bring in somebody so that other guys have to earn it, so that other guys aren't just coming up because the Rockies need a body. That's not the case anymore. And I also like the Jake McCarthy move, because the Rockies needed a left-handed bat. I mean, starting wise, I want to say Yanquiel Fernandez was the only left-handed bat they had right now. So this brings in a left-handed bat that they desperately needed. Desperately needed. So that fills a couple of things. You get a left-handed at bat, or you get a left-handed bat, you get a pretty good fielder, and yeah, you have a deep outfield already. But let's see how deep it is. Let's bring in a proven veteran who the Rockies can utilize while the young guys earn it down in the minor leagues. While the young guys prove that they can get the call-up, that they can be the guy. Now, I know this has been a little bit of a bounce, all over the place episode. Much less than last time, I hope. I realized last time was a all over the place episode. I apologize. That was my very first ever podcast episode. I had never done that before, doing a full recording. So I hope you guys can bear with me on that one. But this, I just, as even a baseball person, I'm excited to see where the Rockies are going and where the Rockies are going and moving forward, how they're basically, their mindset is moving forward. And just these two signings have showed a lot. They have showed that they're here. They're not just here to be Dick Monfort's puppets, i.e. Bill Schmidt. No offense, Bill Schmidt, but you kind of were. They're actually here to have that outside voice, to have that new, fresh perspective, to where they can hopefully turn the sinking ship around and actually make the Rockies good again. I know that's still couple years down the road, if not 3 years down the road. But this signifies a different path. And I'm really excited for it. And I'm excited to cover it this season, doing this. And, I hope you guys are along for the ride. And yeah, if you guys want to, I think that's all for now. But if you guys want to stay on top of any Rockies updates, also any baseball updates, follow me on Nick Den, DEN, B24 on X, Twitter. I still call it Twitter. You're going to hear me call it Twitter, but on X for any Rockies updates. I hope you follow the Baselines to Sidelines YouTube channel, and I hope to see you guys in the next episode. I'll catch y'all later.